एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय चैनल। आज हम करेंगे जयंत महापात्रा। लेट अस स्टार्ट। जयंत महापात्रा एंड हिज पोइट्री आर क्लोजली आइडेंटिफाइड विद वन प्लेस, कटक, an ancient city in Orissa, near which the new capital of the state, Bhubaneswar, has been built. Mahapatra was born there, was educated there, taught there, and has lived there for all his life. There were brief stints out of Cuttack as at Science College, Patna, where he got his MSc, and later frequent trips out of Orissa, especially in the last 20 years when he has been invited to various seminars and conferences both in India and abroad as one of our leading Indian English poets. But Cuttack continues to be the haunting presence behind most of his work. Jayant Mahapatra comes from a native Christian family, a fact which is seldom mentioned by his critics but appears in his poetry. His grandfather was what may be called a rice Christian in a time of famine and starvation. He got refused with a Christian mission and in the process also adopted a new faith for himself and his family. The Christian community in Cuttack is small but quite distinct. It is far more westernized and therefore less rigid by tradition. Earlier, social intercourse with the dominant community was also restricted. All this would give someone born into this community a sense of isolation. He or she would feel like a natural outsider to the dominant cultural conditions of the Hindus, yeah, traditions of the Hindus. These biological details are mentioned because they help explain Mahapatra's attitude to the landscape and the people he loves so dearly. ये सब कुछ जानना बहुत ज़रूरी होता है ना। उनकी पोइट्री हमने पढ़नी है तो हमें उनके बारे में पता होना चाहिए कि वो किस कम्युनिटी से बिलोंग करते थे. In poem after poem, what we notice is a criticism of the carelessness and ruthlessness of tradition, of the indifference of his society to suffering, of the insulated or and fossilized Hindu culture to which he bears an uneasy relationship. वो पसंद नहीं करते थे इंडियन कल्चर को. इमेजेस ऑफ इनर्शिया, हेल्पलेसनेस, टॉर्पोर. टॉर्पोर है, टॉर्पोर का मीनिंग थोड़ा सा मेरे माइंड में था बट एक जस्ट वेट. टॉर्पोर बहुत ही डिफरेंट सा वर्ड है ना ये. टॉर्पोर होता है एपेथी, opposite to sympathy, apathy. So, and decadence frequent his poetry. The universe that he inhabits is static, languid, almost unchanging, but it is also corrupt, violent, and predatory. The poet himself is impotent to change this world. मतलब वो खुद भी इस वर्ल्ड को चेंज नहीं कर सकते हैं जिसको वो पसंद नहीं करते हैं, बट कैन ओनली मेडिटेट ऑन इट विद द डीपेस्ट करुणा और कंपैशन. अल्टीमेटली महापात्राज इज अ ब्रूडिंग इंटरोगेटिव पोइट्री. महापात्रा उनकी जो पोइट्री है बहुत ही इंटरोगेटिव पोइट्री है. प्रोफाउंड क्वेश्चंस आर रेज्ड, बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस रेज किए जाते हैं विदाउट द आंसर्स बीइंग नेसेसरली सप्लाइड. Now, Mahapatra's poetry shares the skepticism and questioning of tradition that we see in the modernists, but he departs company with them in his craftsmanship and also in his deeply emotive, not intellectual tone. Cerebral matlab intellectual tone. There are profound depths in his poetry, sometimes complicated by ambiguous or uncertain sentences. In other words, when we analyze a Mahapatra poem, we need to go beyond the surface texture. The mood that the poem evokes should be taken into account. इस तरह से जो mood है that the poem evokes should be taken into account. Mahapatra came to poetry somewhat late in his life. He was already 38 when he published his first collection, Close the Sky. उसके बाद 10 by 10 1971 में. That same year, another collection, Swayamvara and other poems, appeared. Both these collections show promise rather than real achievement. After a gap of 5 years, Mahapatra published two collections of much better poems, A Father's Hour, Ours, and the much acclaimed A Reign of Rights, जिससे ये ली गई है poem ना. After several collections have followed, including Waiting, the False Start, Life Signs, Selected Poems, Burden of Waves and Fruits, Temple, A Whiteness of Bone, A Relationship, a long poem in many sections, won the Satya Academy Award for 1981. Relationship के लिए उनको मिला था. Mahapatra has also published a collection of short stories in English and collection of original poetry in Oriya. From 1979 to 1985, he edited a journal of creative writing called Chandrabhaga. He was also the founding editor of Kavya Bharti. चलो हमारा ये फिनिश होता है अब. थैंक यू सो मच. प्लीज़ सब्सक्राइब माई चैनल.